Hi, everyone. I hope everyone's having a fantastic day out there. This is
Hi,
Miss.
everybody. Mrs. Kraft is here.
I was just about to say this is Mr. Tiska and Mrs. Kraft. Mrs. Kraft, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are
Uh,
you doing?
I'm fantastic, and the reason I'm fantastic is because today we're going to be learning about Chapter 8, Section 2, which again is about Jefferson as the President of the United States. Now, the big idea that we want you guys to take away from today is under President Jefferson's leadership, the United States added the Louisiana Territory.
What a great find.
Absolutely. Best bargain in the history of the United States.
Absolutely. And this new Louisiana purchase doubles the size of the country. And then, of course, when you buy something, you want to know what you got. You want to play with it. So then the president sends out Lewis and Clark to check out what he bought.
Absolutely. And we're going to learn all about it today. So we're going to scroll down, and our first main idea for today is that as American settlers moved west, control of the Mississippi River became more important to the United States.
This is the why. Why does Jefferson send people to go buy New Orleans? Everybody's moving west, and the Mississippi River becomes critical to their success because that's how they're going to ship their goods. And you have Spain's got it, we've got it, who's on first, what's on second. Nobody knows what's going on with New Orleans, so we need to figure this out.
Absolutely. So Jefferson's going to send some people to France to try and make a deal to get the port of New Orleans because, as Mrs. Kraft said, it is very important that the United States controls that port.
So he sends Monroe and Livingston. He says to them, all right, guys, I need you to go over. I need you to buy New Orleans. And when you get there, you got a $2 to $10 million budget. That's what you can spend to buy it. Now, they're in France, and all of a sudden, they're trying to talk to the prime minister of France, and he's like, he's blowing them off left and right. He doesn't want to have anything to do with them. He's like, yada, 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 go away. Meanwhile, the major events shift. What happens in Haiti, Mr. Tiska?
Well, what happens is Haiti was a colony controlled by France, and the French ruler at the time was a French general by the name of Napoleon.
Oh, my name's Napoleon Bonaparte, and have I got a deal for you?
Exactly. So Napoleon had this big dream. He wanted to conquer the world, and he wanted to use Haiti to help do that. Well, there's a little problem. There's a rebellion in Haiti which overthrows French control. So Napoleon kind of loses Haiti, and when he loses Haiti, his dream kind of falls apart.
Toussaint de Louverture. That's a cool name. That's the man that runs the rebellion and the independence of Haiti. And just as an aside, copy our Declaration of Independence because we did such an awesome job making ours. Woohoo!
So when that rebellion happens and France loses control of Haiti, Napoleon decides, hey, you know what? I've got this whole war going on in Europe. I need money. So when Livingston and Monroe show up, he decides to sell them not only the port of New Orleans, but the entire Louisiana territory. Over
Holy cow, the whole thing, Mr. Tiska?
the whole thing, Mrs. Kraft. I'm talking 828,000 square miles.
That's a lot of miles.
Abs-
So now they get to do it on their budget, $2 to $10 million.
No, they're actually, France is willing to sell them it for $15 million.
Ooh, so they have to go back to the president and say to him, well, Mr. President, we've got some good news and we've got some bad news. We totally bought New Orleans, plus a whole bunch of other land. That's the good news. But the bad news, we're $5 million over budget.
So it was a little bittersweet for Jefferson, but he had to make the deal because, guys, when you think about it, France is asking for less than 3 cents an acre, and just so you guys understand this, an acre is like a football field.
So 3 cents for all of Bomber Stadium?
Absolutely.
Wow. That's amazing.
So that is how the United States was able to get the Louisiana Territory. Now, as Mrs. Kraft said, once you have something, you like to play with it. So, and that's exactly what Jefferson wanted to do. So he's going to send some people to explore the Louisiana Territory. Now we're going to scroll down to main idea number 2. And this is all what we just talked about. The Louisiana Purchase almost doubled the size of the United States. The Louisiana Purchase was approved by the Senate on October 20th, 1803, and it was the best bargain in U.S. history. Napoleon sold them the territory to finance his war in Europe, and it nearly doubled the size of the United States.
Now, Mr. Siska, I want to piggyback on something that you talked a lot about yesterday about Jefferson's political party and strict construction. Can I ask you, does it say in the Constitution that the president can buy all of this land?
Not at all, Mrs. Kraft.
So wait a second. So Jefferson, who's a strict constructionist, and he was all over Hamilton saying, show me the words, is now doing something that the Constitution doesn't have words for?
That's right.
I find that interesting. Guess Jefferson's talking out of both sides of his mouth, isn't he?
He absolutely is. So you have Jefferson, the strict constructionist, and he decides to go against that and actually buy the Louisiana Territory from France.
How does he justify it? What does he call this? Is it a treaty?
I'm
thinking that that's exactly how Jefferson justifies
it. That is how he justifies it. He calls it a treaty with France.
So, isn't it funny how when it suits Jefferson's needs, he can find a workaround with the Constitution? Interesting.
Very interesting. All right, so Jefferson is going to send some people to explore the Louisiana Territory, and that brings us to main idea number 3. The expeditions led by Lewis, Clark, and Pike increased Americans' understanding of the West.
So they were sent to explore, map, and find out about the Native American people. So that was the task that they were set with.
They were also sent to see if they could find the old Northwest Passage, and basically a water route to the Pacific Ocean.
Everybody's been looking at that for that since Columbus's time.
100% true. So, Jefferson's going to select Captain Meriwether Lewis and his best buddy, William Clark, to lead a group of 50 skilled frontiersmen, otherwise known as the Corps of Discovery, to explore this land. Now, they're going to be tasked with, as we've been saying, to find a water route to the Pacific Ocean, to study the land, to map out the entire area, to meet native groups. Those are pretty much their goals on this expedition. Now, they begin near St. Louis on May 14th, 1804, and they reach the Pacific Ocean, spoiler alert, in November 1805.
Absolutely. They don't do it by themselves. You know who they need to help them? That's right, a girl.
So Lewis and Clark used interpreters to talk to each of the native peoples that they met. And this is really...
Wait a second. How did they talk to them? They don't speak the same language.
They used interpreters, and one of those interpreters was a 16-year-old girl named Sacagawea. Now, Sacagawea was a Shoshone Indian who they met along with her husband, a French fur trader by the name of Toussaint Charbonneau.
Charbonneau, he's not a nice man.
No,
he's very mean.
No, he wasn't. But fortunately for both Lewis and Clark, Sacagawea was very nice. She was actually, when they met her, as crazy as it seems, she was 16 years old and she was pregnant. And Mrs. Kraft, do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Oh my gosh, Lewis and Clark write in their journals about how amazing Sacagawea was. And that when it was time for her to have her baby, she went into her quarters, has the baby all by herself, spends a couple of days recovering, and then straps the baby boy to her back, and then off they go, continuing on the path. She is like my hero. And
guys, by the way, for most of this expedition, they're walking, and they're walking hundreds of miles. So it is not an easy journey whatsoever. And Sacagawea, really, if it wasn't for her, the entire expedition would have fallen apart, because she's the one, whenever they have a problem with a Native American group, she's the one that helps settle it. She also acts as a guide. She helps Lewis and Clark learn more about the Louisiana Territory. So she really becomes invaluable to them.
Absolutely. And the whole time that they're going, you feel like you're taking a bunch of notes in history class. They're writing down everything that they encounter. They're taking samples of the plants that they see. They're even sending animals um, back to the president. So it's become quite an adventure. And it's not like it's a quick trip. Okay, they're doing this for months and months and months. The whole trip takes, as you saw before, well over a year.
Yeah, it takes almost 3 years there and back, and she's with them for a good portion of it. So it's not an easy journey whatsoever. Now, ultimately, Lewis and Clark, they don't find a water route to the Pacific, but they do document over 178 new plants, over 122 new animals, and they meet 16 Native American groups. And one of the Native American groups that they meet were the Shoshone Indians, Sacagawea's old Native American tribe. See, Sacagawea was actually sold into slavery when she was little and taken away from her family. She was kidnapped. Yeah, it was a terrible story. But when they meet the Shoshone Native American tribe, her long lost brother is actually the chief of the tribe. He's the head of the tribe. And he is so overjoyed to see his sister that he offers Lewis, Clark, and the Corps of Discovery horses and supplies and food and all that. So that
they spent the winter there with them.
They also,
because it was by the Rocky Mountains.
Yeah, they spent the winter with them before they crossed over the Rocky Mountains. So, and this is just one instance where Sacagawea helps them out. So again, she is probably the most important member of the Corps of Discovery. Now, Lewis and Clark weren't the only ones to go exploring, and that brings us to Pike's.
Wait, can I back you up?
Sure.
I'm so sorry. So I, being the history nerd that I am, every chance I get a chance, I go and I visit places that are historical. I have actually been to Fort Clatsop, not the real one. It's been long gone. The fake one that they built up. I have visited a recreation of it, and it's right on the coast, the Pacific coast. It was super cool because you could see where they had the salt works, and I had to learn all about this at the time. They would actually boil ocean water for days and days and days and have the water boil out so they could just get the salt from the bottom so that they could preserve fish and take that with them on their trip back. So super cool because these places that Lewis and Clark have visited still have museums and places that you can visit. And one of the coolest things that I saw at the museum was a salary guide. And in this salary guide, it talked about how much money they were paid. And Charbonneau, who was Sacagawea's husband, was paid for 16 months, $490.17. Ask me how much Sacagawea was paid.
How much was Sacagawea paid, Mrs. Kraft?
Nothing. $0. 16 months. She was the glue that held it together, and she received no monies.
Yeah, unfortunately, even though the Lewis and Clark expedition did a lot of great things, there were some negative parts to it. Sacagawea not getting paid was one. William Clark also brought his slave, a man by the name of York, with him. And at the end of the expedition, every member of the Corps of Discovery was paid double what they were originally promised, except for York.
No. Oh, and as an aside, my dog people, there was a dog on the trip too.
There was. Lewis brought his very own dog on the trip with them. So you could say.
I can't remember the dog's name. Can you?
I can remember. I think it was Seaman or something like that.
Yes. Awesome, Mr. Tiska.
I know.
What a team we make.
I know.
It was awesome.
So yeah, the Lewis and Clark expedition really was, in a way, a family affair. But one other exploration or expedition that we need to talk about is that of Zebulon Pike. Now, Zebulon Pike was an Army officer that led another expedition to the West in 1806. And he really kind of explored the Southwest. And what happened was he headed into the Rocky Mountains into present-day Colorado, and he actually discovered something called Pikes Peak, which was the highest summit that's part of the Rocky Mountain chain. But he traveled a little too far south, and he ended up in New Spain that was controlled by the Spanish. So, yeah, they arrested him, and they kind of held him in custody for a bit. However, while he was in New Spain, he actually did end up buying two little grizzly bears to send back to Jefferson as pets. But it didn't actually work out too well for Jefferson having two grizzly bears as pets.
All right, now listen, all of these people that we've talked about, Louisiana Purchase, trails that they blazed, is all in the textbook on page 273. So we don't expect that you have your textbook at home, but we do have chapter 8 pages on the sidebar of your classwork page. Under chapter 8 resources, the textbook pages are there. So check out the map.
Absolutely, guys, and check out all of those resources. We're going to be posting more in the future, so definitely just be aware of that, and also be aware of doing the daily attendance form. It's always going to be in the classwork section of the Google Classroom that you're in, whether you're one of my students or Mrs. Kraft students or Ms. Hoff students. It's always going to be there. Make sure you check that out.
And the other thing is, if you guys just kind of think of it, it's almost like a roll call. If we're saying, "Are you here?" you check that and stay instead of saying present, because that's how you prove that you're in school. So, and just on a personal note for bookkeeping, I don't know if you're finding this, Mr. Tiska, but if you guys could fill that out with your last name first and then first name, it makes it so much easier for us to sort.
Absolutely, I am seeing that, Mrs. Kraft. So make sure you guys put your last name first and then your first name.
And you're checking the date you're present. I've actually had some kids that keep putting their birth date. So make sure that you're putting down what day of the week it is that you want to be counted in school. All right, now this is it for screencast for this week. We have decided to mix it up for the next couple of days. We love Lewis and Clark so much that you're going to be immersed in their life for the next 2 days. Tomorrow, you get to pretend that you are Lewis and Clark, and you are choosing people that you would want to join you in the Corps of Discovery. And then you can explain why. And then Friday, we have something super fun. And Mr. Tiska is all about scavenger hunts. So tell him about Friday.
Well, Friday, you guys are going to be taking part in a Lewis and Clark scavenger hunt. We're still working out the kinks, but that is the plan as of now for Friday. It should be a lot of fun for you guys because, as Mrs. Kraft said, we both really love the Lewis and Clark expedition, and it's really important because it kind of set the stage for the expansion of the United States further west. So we really want you guys to know it inside and out. So that's why we're going to be doing these things the next few days. So just be on the lookout for that.
Awesome. If you guys have questions, as always, please email them to us. Sometimes I'm finding that if you're putting comments within a comment, sometimes they get lost. So if I don't reply to you, please shoot me an email so this way that I know that I should look from somewhere else.
Also, the other thing about comments, guys, a lot of times when you make comments, we don't get the email notification. I'm finding sometimes for like an hour after you make a comment.
Yeah, so if you want to send us an email, that'd be great.
So with that being said, guys, Mrs. Kraft, do you have anything else?
I think we're good.
We hope you guys have a fantastic day. Remember, stay safe and stay healthy out there. Be smart, and we will talk to you guys soon. Have a great day.
Have a great day. Bye now.
Bye, guys.